He consumes planets to sustain his life force.
Okay, we should eat.
Line him up, Johnny! Go!
Fantastic Four. First steps may take place in an alternate world to the main chronology of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. But the impact this film will have on the remainder of the multiverse saga promises to be massive. As seen by the film's ending, Marvel's first family has finally arrived in the MCU, and they've been protecting the world for 4 years. However, in the film, they face their most formidable foe yet. Galactus, Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben band together to combat the Devourer of Worlds in the film's last act. But there is still much more to learn about these heroes by the end credits. Galactus first looks to have his sights set on Earth, thanks to his herald, Shalla-Bal, who has marked the planet for death. When the Fantastic Four visit Galactus on his spacecraft, he sees the incredible potential of Sue Storm's unborn child and wants to strike a deal in exchange for the boy's survival. Clearly, this does not sit well with the close-knit family, who chose to flee and save the boy. But Galactus appears bent on taking the child instead of the Earth he was meant to feed on from the moment he meets the team. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Galactus' origin tale appears to be slightly altered. He is still a being who has existed on Earth 828 since before the beginning of time. He was formerly a normal-sized man. However, he was plagued with insatiable appetite, forcing him to feed on entire planets. This is a slight departure from the comics, where the hunger is now a curse that can be carried on, and it's uncertain what would happen to Galactus if he succeeded in passing on the hunger, or whether he could continue to thrive, even without consuming entire worlds. However, it is evident that Franklin Richards, Sue and Reed's kid, possesses the power cosmic, which means he can satisfy Galactus' insatiable hunger. As a result, Galactus is obsessed with taking Franklin to finally break the curse. The Fantastic Four defeat Galactus while he is attempting to kidnap Franklin. Their original plan to barter for the world is unsuccessful, as is their attempt to relocate the planet to a new remote position elsewhere in the universe. Despite this, Sue Storm is able to use her immense power to shove Galactus into the last transporter and send him elsewhere in the universe. Galactus is certainly stranded someplace in the universe, or he may be traveling to another timeline. Despite this, Galactus is unlikely to have been killed. He may struggle to feed himself and walk around, but there is no strong evidence that he has died and gone for good. Galactus recognized Franklin Richards as possessing the power cosmic as soon as he arrived on his spacecraft. Reed had attempted to discover any defects multiple times throughout the pregnancy, but there was no apparent indication of anything. Galactus then says that the youngster is hiding the full extent of his abilities from his father. Reed continues to probe his kid, looking for some indication of his abilities, but Franklin appears to be entirely normal until his mother, Sue Storm, dies as a result of overusing her talents. Franklin is able to touch his mother's body and revive her. When she awakens, her eyes appear to be glazed over with a reflection of the universe, and Sue remarks that the boy is so much more than them. Clearly, Franklin possesses exceptional powers much above his years. This is consistent with the comics, where the child has the ability to rewrite reality, create entire universes, and govern life and death itself. To avoid being watched and feared, Franklin suppresses his powers. Franklin's talents in the MCU appear to be similar to those in the comic books, both in scale and capacity. Shalla-Bal is Galactus' herald, tasked with discovering worlds for her master to consume. But as Johnny Storm learns to interpret her language, he discovers her past and how she made a contract with Galactus to save her world and become his herald. However, the time she spent in his service has weighed heavily on her, and she feels guilty for assisting him in taking countless lives. When Sue Storm devises a strategy for defeating Galactus, Shalla-Bal resolves to betray her master in order to save the Earth. It's possible that, when the couple arrived in a portion of the universe, she was able to fly away and escape. But Galactus might have easily regained his composure and tormented his herald. As seen previously in the film, she asks him if this is the case. Galactus may use his herald to arrange transportation and eventually escape his exile. As the film concludes, there is another time jump 4 years into the future, with Franklin now a toddler. Because the film is set in an alternate universe, it does not have to adhere to a precise year to correspond to Earth 616 and the events in Avengers. Doomsday. However, a mid-credits sequence in which Dr. Doom shows Franklin his face while holding his mask in one hand indicates that this could lead to Doomsday. There may be another time leap before the crew and Franklin rejoin the main timeline of the MCU, which may imply Franklin is even older. However, as early as Franklin is 4 years old, Doctor Doom appears and appears to be interested in him. Sue appeared surprised to see Doom in her home, and he did not enter through a door, indicating that this character could be a threat. However, this scene might lead right into the events of Avengers: Doomsday, with Victor Von Doom convincing the Fantastic Four that he requires their assistance to accomplish something. Whatever the case, the Fantastic Four First Steps establishes Marvel's first family in the multiverse, laying the groundwork for Avengers, Doomsday, and subsequent events.